My name is Sean Lauder. I'm from NASA Langley Research Center. And I want to talk to you about something I've witnessed at all levels of leadership and all levels of people's careers and lengths of careers while I've been at the agency. And that's people getting so in the weeds and task-oriented and detail work-oriented that they almost become jaded and disconnected from the ultimate goal of what they're working on or even just the overall vision of the agency. And this can be because they are either never given the opportunity to know what that top vision is, or they just lose track of it. And this sort of seems to me like a ship in a storm. And so there are people above decks with the ship being buffeted by the waves and the wind and giving orders and doing all the work to keep the ship afloat. But then there's those below the decks that are getting orders but may not even know what's happening or realize the extent of the storm, and they may have been down there so long they may not even know where the boat is heading anymore or even knew where it was going. Now, far be it from me to say that I was immune to this myself, but I've fallen into this rut occasionally in my career. But SELDP, this program, actually has broadened this vision exponentially because myself and all of my colleagues here have been able to travel around the agency, go to different centers, and see all of this work that's happening and see the agency from such a holistic view that we understand how all of this work is tying in to the broader vision of what we do here at NASA. In particular, for me, I was able to go to Johnson Space Center and work on commercial crew for my detail. And there was a singular focus that regardless of what you were doing that day or what issues you were having, that ultimately what we were concerned about was astronaut safety and safety of human life as we get a system to go up to the International Space Station and LEO. And this is not unique in NASA. NASA is chock full of amazing visions and amazing drive and amazing stories that people can ground their work in. And that's why NASA is like this ship as well, because the ship is exploring and NASA is exploring. And that exploration can be dangerous, and that exploration can be risky. And what NASA does can be dangerous and risky, but it's only dangerous and risky because it's a bold thing to be doing. So we should use that boldness of that story and that vision to drive people. So what I like to see is that everyone in this agency at different levels of leadership, at the agency level, the center level, program level, wherever you happen to be, if you're in a meeting or if you're one-on-one with someone, talk to them and make sure that they understand what the tasks they're doing that day ties back to, because there's a top-level story there and a higher goal that everyone's working to. If you're in a lab and you're seeing a technician attaching a screw to an instrument, talk to them about it, particularly if you sense that these people may be disconnected and may be just doing a job that day, and understand that they may be attaching a screw that day, but they're not just attaching a screw. They are working to get the agency to where we need to be because they are contributing to the story of NASA. Thank you.
I'm Paul Mogan, and I'm from Kennedy Space Center. I'd like to share a little bit of my life with you and a little bit of my vision. When I was a kid, my parents noticed when I was 3 or 4 years old that I started running into things, and so they took me to a series of eye doctors because they figured that I just wasn't seeing very well. And the eye doctors said, hey, bad news, good news. You're going to lose most of your eyesight, but it's not going to make you totally blind. And I credit my parents a lot. What they did was not to teach me to artificially limit myself or fear everything. They taught me to go find a way. Find a way to do what you want. And that life lesson has made a profound difference for me. Later, as I got older, I went to college, and I found that I liked the engineering courses best of all. And they were the hardest courses. It wasn't as easy for me as English and other things. But I discovered that I like doing what's hard. When I came to work for NASA 30 years ago, my first mentor, Barry, was a great engineer. And why he was a great engineer is because he had passion to make sure that the job is done right. And that really stuck with me, making sure the job is done right. And at NASA, that's what we're all about. We have this great mission. Our mission is to take the human race to that next step where we're living on other planets besides here and taking care of this planet too. We've got to find a way to do that, and we are finding that way. We have to make sure that that is done right. So when you think about it too, doing what's hard, making sure the job is done right, and finding a way to get it done, that's what systems engineering is all about, really. And in my SELDP assignment, I got a chance to go to Ames Research Center, and I was on an awesome project. We were sending a satellite out into deep space environment to study the DNA damage effects from the radiation environment out there. That's part of us getting out there. That's part of us taking that next step as a race and getting off this planet. And I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. You've probably seen this picture here and there today. This picture is really special for me. This diamond ring eclipse picture to me, it's about losing the light, similar to what I did with my eyesight, but still having a great vision of awesome things. It's also about the team. I was with my SELDP team there at Langley when this eclipse happened, and it was a great experience. And I know that in order to do great things for this agency, I've needed a little extra help along the way because of my eyesight. But really, all of us do. And my team was there for me. And so what I'm asking everybody to do is look around to the people around you who are trying to do great things, who are trying to make a big difference, and give them the hand they need in order to make their visions happen. Because what we do is hard, and it's only going to happen with each of us achieving great things on the behalf of NASA. So let's help one another get there. This is just an incredible picture, an incredible experience. I want to thank all of you.
I am Leslie Ringo, and I am a proud representative of Johnson Space Center. Memories from our childhood work their magic in defining and shaping who we are. And I'd like to share a memory from my childhood. I remember my mother taking both my younger sister and I with her to work. And it wasn't the most ideal place to go take children because she was a librarian. And so we'd have to sit quietly for hours on end while we saw her do this amazing thing. With the wealth of data around her, that knowledge, she had this incredible talent of seeking out and finding that information and giving it to others to help them succeed. And so for me, knowledge empowerment, and more importantly, getting that information out to others so that they're able to learn from it is my passion. And then when you factor in that we work for an incredible agency and then we get to execute amazing missions, that knowledge we have amassed is invaluable to our future successes. I will not be a passive person when I see information being siloed, and we have very valid methods of getting it out there. I am not going to be a bystander when we see past programs ending up in burn bags or warehoused physically or either digitally that makes it virtually impossible to go and retrieve. I'm a firm believer that our past teaches us how to press forward to make a better future. And so as I stand here before you, you might be wondering, what's the meaning behind 3 children and a little dog in a box? Well, when I started off my share, I shared that my mother would take us with her to work. And so when I was given this incredible opportunity to go learn and expand my capabilities, working on the low boom flight demonstrator out at Armstrong Flight Facility, this was not just my journey, it was also my children's. I packed them up, drove them across country, set them up in a new school, and we did it. And we did it amazingly. And so what I look forward to, and I am very excited to see what core values my children embrace from having been given this incredible learning opportunity. And so to Rosalie, Genevieve, and Tristan, I thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. And so for every opportunity I'm given the chance to learn or share knowledge, I do not pass up. And so I ask everyone here if you could embrace the task of each and every day sharing something with others, because that knowledge and that insight that you share, you are planting the seeds for the future. Thank you.
My name is Rivera, and I'm from the Armstrong Flight Research Center. Growing up in Boy Scouts, one of the values they taught that really resonated with me was the value of integrity. It was something that resonated with me strongly, and when I was working at the Boy Scout summer camp, I was teaching the archery merit badge, and was not able to get the resources I needed in order to teach the merit badge properly. To me, this was a failure of my personal integrity, because I had signed up to teach the merit badge and was not able to provide the teaching that was necessary for the merit badge. I made do with what I had and was able to complete teaching the merit badge, but it was always felt like I was failing the students because I didn't have the proper materials. At NASA, we do an extremely difficult and challenging mission with many different conflicting priorities. And we need the integrity to do the mission that we sign up to do, and and just as importantly is to be able to speak up and stand up and speak out when we don't have the resources available, or even with the best of our abilities, we just can't do the mission at this time. One thing I want to do at NASA is instill a culture of integrity. Is that we say what we're going to do, we're trusted to do what we're going to do, that we meet the mission that we sign up for, and that we have the resources to do it safely. We're an agency that does the impossible, but also we have to keep the people. We also have to protect the lives of the people that trust us to keep them safe. My detail was at the Glenn Research Center working on the flow boiling and condensation experiment. This was a really good experience for me coming from the aero side of NASA. I got to go over to the space side and work on an instrument level as opposed to a facility level. So it was a very expansive experience for me to do. It did turn into a bit of a reality TV show about midway through my detail. We had a project leadership change out of the system engineer, the project manager, and the chief engineer about midway through my detail. So I was, of course, out on one of our workshops when that happened, so I was going, I'm not sure what I'm going to be coming back to when I come back. The one thing I really enjoyed about seeing that transition was that the new leadership team had the integrity to respect what had come before them, but not hold it unchanging and sacred. So they came in, they respected what had been done before them, but they looked at what needed to be done and changed what needed to be done. That was probably one of the best experiences of my detail when I was there, was actually seeing the cultural shift, seeing how they were able to keep the team from breaking apart. So the picture behind me here is actually, this has been a year of change for both in my professional life and in my personal life. I ended up marrying my best friend and the love of my life in June. Had a beautiful wedding and we had a great time. And I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity that I've had in this program and the experience I've had, and it's really shown me what kind of leader I can be.
I'm David Rutishauser from Johnson Space Center. I love this picture behind me. It was taken the day my daughter was born, and it shows very literally how I'm holding the future of my family in my hands. I also like to share a belief that I have that drew me to NASA. I believe the human intellect, the ability to use tools, the ability to learn and pass knowledge on to future generations, to imagine, to dream, is not an accident of evolution. I believe that we evolved to develop and use technology far beyond anything, other life on this planet, because we have a responsibility. And I think that responsibility is to preserve life on this earth. That day that I was holding my daughter, I could not have imagined that I'd be raising her by myself. I lost my beloved wife in a horrible car accident last December. This shattered my family, but we're surviving. One thing I have to be thankful for is that my daughter miraculously was unharmed in that accident. And also, I was in my detail at KSC, Kennedy Space Center, so I was not there, and I was spared to be her only parent to love and raise her. So experts debate on the various ways that our planet could become uninhabitable, and even if we somehow survive all these possibilities and persist into the future millennia, our sun shares our mortality. NASA has led human excursions off this planet for decades. So whose job, if it not ours, to lead the mission for human survival? It may be hard to imagine this home of ours, Earth, as not being inhabitable, but it was hard to imagine me losing my wife. So everything changed when I came back to Houston. I realized I could not continue my detail at KSC. I also realized I could not waste another minute with work that was not aligned with my passion, with my talents and abilities, and what I believe the purpose of the agency is. As we develop more capable technologies, the complexity of these technologies increase, and systems engineering becomes critical to success. In my detail at Johnson Space Center, I looked at how different disciplines work together to develop complex capabilities and how they could do this better. I looked at pushing systems engineering down to the discipline level and approaching cross-discipline development as systems development. My personal tragedy forced me to align with what was most important to me, most important to the agency, and our future. I want everyone in this agency to walk this path, take this journey with me, to ask yourselves every day, am I doing the most important work for the future? Am I doing this with passion? Am I engaging all of my talents and abilities to their fullest? We will need this for the challenges that lie ahead. We hold the future in our hands. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Smith from Marshall Space Flight Center. I grew up in Alabama in a small working farm. I had 5 siblings, and we each were assigned tasks that were part of the family operation. So this is where I really started early, learning the skills related to system engineering, the commitment it takes to do a mission, the partnerships that we'll need along the way, and the transfer of knowledge. My family and the family farm could not have survived 100+ years without these traits. And I'm thankful today to say that my nephew and our family is continuing the family farm. I had great role models growing up. My mom, she mostly did the business side of the operation. My father, my grandfather, did the day-to-day operations. And we had various aunts and uncles around that helped as we needed to partner with them. And I listened along the way as they did trades, just like NASA engineers do trades, asking the probing questions. And so this is where I really got started in hearing the activities that system engineers do. And it was just an awesome experience to have that and to pass that along. We have 52 approximately percentage of NASA that's retirement eligible. So it's very imperative that we, as system engineers and leaders, take on the transfer of knowledge from our experiences to the next generation. I know a lot about system engineering, and NASA has benefited greatly, whether it's in the SLS software safety area, mission ops, even more recently at Goddard working on the James Webb or LaVore study, or as I returned to Marshall just a month ago, working on CO2 scrubbers for the exploration. And I am committed to finding ways, creative ways, to transfer my knowledge and my experience to the next generation. And I'm very passionate about people and developing people. And I invite you to help me and every day see what we can do to transfer our knowledge and our experiences so that we can leave a legacy for NASA as we explore beyond LEO. Thank you.
Once again, I am Stacey Bagg Provin, and I'm from NASA. I'm from the Glenn Research Center. I'm from the Marshall Space Flight Center. I'm from the Jet Propulsion Lab. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be from Kennedy Space Center. I say I'm from Glenn because that's where I started my career, working on cryogenic propulsion and radioisotope power systems. It was my first job out of college, and I had no family in the area. So my friends and colleagues adopted me. And that's where I first understood the NASA family. These were not just coworkers, but they're people I'll always be able to lean on, call, collaborate with, visit. I have several homes in Cleveland that I'm always welcome in. I say I'm from Marshall because that was the second step in my career. I transferred there to work on advanced manufacturing and material processes. And that's where I met my husband, Tim, and we started our own family with our 3 little pets. I say I'm from JPL because that's where I spent my 9-month SELDP detail. And even in those short 9 months, I formed a great coalition of friends and mentors. I shared with them the rest of the agency that I had experienced through SELDP and through my own personal experiences. We discussed how we can and do collaborate around the agency. And it was eye-opening for me to meet my customer for my work at Glenn in radioisotope systems. They were using these to enable their spacecraft, to enable the remarkable science that we do. And at my work at Marshall with additive manufacturing. They're using this at JPL to make these spacecraft. In fact, I could connect my work at JPL to every single NASA center that we visited during SELDP. And it became clear that all of the centers need to work together. We know that NASA is more stovepiped than we want it to be. But the key to knocking down these stovepipes is relationships. It is the NASA family. Most people don't have the benefit of visiting every NASA center or immersing themselves in another center's culture, a benefit that SELDP provided us. But the extraordinary work that NASA does requires us to drive these connections and these relationships. So we need more programs like this. We need more mobility around the agency. We need to meet our team in person, wherever they may be. And we need more opportunities to explore our own agency. On top of that, we need program structures and incentives that encourage collaboration and not competition. We need the NASA family to be a reality and not just a term that we use. And this reality is what I'm driven to create in my career, and I sincerely ask that you help me.